The Power Rangers!
Look, it kinda makes sense in context, but I'd argue seeing a mulleted brat take a pie to the face is its own reward in the 9th episode of Oh, Zio. It's been a while, but Oh, Zio is back! I hope you enjoyed things like Donkey Kong Dissection and Dragon Ball Dissection December, but I'm returning to the regular swing of things, which means more Oh, Zio for all of you. And look at that! I finally got to make the pink variant of the title animation. That means that for the first time, we're getting an episode about Oh Pink and Zio Ranger 1 Pink, Momo and Catherine respectively. However, they say never to work with children or animals, and it's true because who gives a crap about them when there's a cute pupper? Oh, look at the good boy, and look at this good boy. They're such good boys. Yes, as should be clear by the titles both having the word dog in them, these are stories about dogs. The Ohranger episode features a dog in much of its footage, and its Zio equivalent has to incorporate that as well. There's some good action with the Japanese dog, so I think Power Ranger Zio was smart to make use of it. The dogs don't look all that similar in terms of their facial coloring, but whatever. We already went through this with babies last time, including this shot I didn't even mention, of the computer readout of Joey being neither Joey nor Co, but instead another random baby from the Ohranger episode. The two dogs are about as similar as Tommy's two shields in Mighty Morphin. The Ohranger 2-part title Illusion, the Dog of the Gods is straightforward. According to our guest stars of the week, an old potter named Goichi and his grandson Shota, a dog has recently shown up in the area surrounding Mount Fuji to lead rescue workers to hikers in distress. As such, Shota refers to the dog as the Kami no Inu, or Dog of the Gods. He also calls him Johnny.
Here's Johnny!
The illusion in the title refers back to that. Is he even a real dog or some kind of spirit? It vaguely ties into the connection to the Earth theme running through this series. It makes sense that the Ohrangers would befriend a magic spirit dog. As such, he's perfectly positioned to help draw Momo's attention to Baranoia's plan of digging and placing bombs to cause Mount Fuji to erupt. Power Ranger Zio doesn't really mess with that kind of mysticism. Or at least it doesn't until it leans hard into the magic Indian trope a few episodes from now. Yay. At any rate, they rewrite the dog into something a bit more in line with this show. Smokey is the product of one of the kids getting involved in a volunteer project. Apparently Kat has a history training police dogs in Australia, so she does it again here. As the name implies, Smokey is a fire-sniffing dog demonstrated when, immediately after being introduced, he saves the youth center from burning down. I'm not sure why Ernie is cooking what looks like a single personal pan pizza as if that's supposed to feed anybody here, but it sure is convenient for exposition. But yeah, Smokey serves a similar function to sniff out the Machine Empire's similar plan to send lava into Angel Grove. Because Smokey is a police dog, for once Bulk and Skull actually tie into the main story. They're tasked with giving the dog who outranks them a bath. However, they let him get away, which causes Kat to chase after him and end up discovering the bad guy's plan. Just like Momo, Kat gets injured and isolated from the rest of the team. And I know I used this a few videos ago as an example of Japanese and American footage not blending together seamlessly, but while it's not seamless, this shot of Japanese O Pink de-transforming into Kat is done very well. The problem I have talking about Every Dog Has His Day is that it's boring. This is the first thing I sat down to watch for this series in 2026, and it briefly made me wonder why I was even bothering. It's not that there's anything wrong with it per se, it's just so generic. Power Rangers do a public service work that ties into the plot. Individual Power Ranger gets involved in fighting off the plot. There's talk about teamwork and unity, and then they kill the thing. Bulk and Skull act like idiots, and even that feels like it's going through the motions, like they don't have any good jokes for them beyond, the dog is better than you. It's an episode that's ostensibly focused on Kat and injures her to ratchet up the tension, but it doesn't really do anything to explore her character. It saddles her with a random trait, training police dogs that could have been given to anyone and which I'm almost certain is never referenced again. It's a paint-by-numbers Power Rangers. But it is an episode I remembered from my initial watch a year ago. It wasn't until I rewatched Dog of the Gods that I at least remembered why the premise stuck with me. Dog of the Gods has a similar problem in that while it focuses on Momo, it could honestly be any character. We don't learn anything about Momo except that she likes dogs, and frankly, who doesn't? But there is enough variation in story and structure to make it stand out. Zeo follows such a predictable formula: juice bar, evil plan, shtick, minor action, major action, hokey joke. Ohranger feels a bit more fresh, with the Ohrangers scouting out a suspected paranoia plan and then splitting up on their motorcycles. We follow Momo's journey through the mountains as she forges a relationship with these people and this mysterious dog. It's not groundbreaking or anything. I mean, that's groundbreaking. But it does provide a compelling hook to keep you interested in the episode. There's not much to say about these specific episodes, but since they highlight a bunch of minor recurring differences that I haven't had time to talk about, this gives me the perfect opportunity. This episode introduces the Zeo jet cycles in order to make use of footage of the Ohrangers' jetter machines. Given how prominent a role they play in this episode, they needed to be introduced here. In fact, opening the episode by showing the Rangers testing out the new cycles, repurposed from the Ohrangers on patrol, is the only real break from the formulaic structure. Sentai teams tend to have vehicles like this, and they work really well in Ohranger to allow the characters to get around town and quickly respond to crises. Power Rangers has also tried to incorporate road vehicles on occasion, but in a fictional universe where the characters possess the ability to instantly teleport into Sentai footage, motorcycles always seem like a waste of time, so they rarely get used. Oh, I didn't realize Angel Grove is so close to Mount Fuji. Speaking of legacy decisions and teleportation getting in the way, let's talk about the transformation devices. Ohranger features the Power Braces, devices worn on both wrists that have to be brought together to transform. The left brace also functions as a wireless communicator. They're renamed Zeonizers for Power Ranger Zeo. I had the toy as a kid and spent more time mastering the motion to bring them together than I ever did watching the show. They're pretty cool. They're also very visible. And that works in Ohranger, where the characters are always suited up for work and don't have secret identities. In Power Ranger Zeo, the characters don't usually wear them. They'd be obvious giveaways, and carrying over from Mighty Morphin, they already have far more discreet wrist communicators. Typically, the Rangers can just materialize the Zeonizers onto their wrists by doing a little shake. I bring all this up because losing equipment that leaves the lead character isolated from the others is a major idea in both stories. When Momo is attacked after getting knocked off the cliff, she loses the left brace. Now, that's enough to leave her completely vulnerable. But for Kat, the fall damages her communicator, and then, when she's attacked by Cogs, she also loses one of her Zeonizers because she's just incredibly unlucky today. Even unluckier is that unlike Momo, Kat's friends aren't looking for her, so she has the good idea to put her communicator on Smokey's collar and send him back with it. Unfortunately, Bulk and Skull reclaim the dog before he can lead the other Rangers to Kat, only to immediately lose him again off screen. How riveting. So that's why they need motorcycles this episode to comb the area. Naturally, one of the roles of the dog is to retrieve and return the lost transformation device to its owner. But notice how Momo and Kat actually lose the opposite halves. If those two dogs met up, they could make their own Power Ranger, with blackjack and hookers. The episodes culminate in the climactic action moment of the dog outrunning explosions, a scene that Power Rangers rightly wanted to keep. In Power Rangers, Smokey's trying to deliver Kat's missing Zeonizer while the villains attack her. But in Ohranger, Johnny already did that. Instead, after Johnny attacks Bulldaunt in footage Power Rangers doesn't use, Paranoia is specifically targeting Johnny. As an aside, this scene is all practical in Ohranger. It's a dog running past explosions. Power Rangers adds a visual effect of laser beams firing from above that create the explosions. Here's where the shows veer apart. Ohranger goes for the total Newberry metal ending by having Johnny take a missile to the face. Power Rangers get squeamish about that, so Smokey runs the gauntlet without incident. But that creates a problem. See, Momo's fighting to avenge Johnny. That's what the whole scene is about. Baramagma even taunts her for risking her life for a mere dog. But Smokey safely delivers the Zeonizer to Kat, so her fight against Digster is just a fight. The worst part is that they try to make it about something.
Think you could take me on alone?
As a Power Ranger, I'm never alone.
Okay, was she ever in doubt? This moral is as tacked on as a Sailor Says segment.
As a Power Ranger, I'm never alone.
It goes a long way to explain why this episode is so boring. It's just not about anything. Oh, and what about the lava?
The blast that destroyed Digster also sealed the opening to the lava flow.
That is just incredibly convenient and certainly not something we needed to see. To be fair, Ohranger's ending is also a little anticlimactic. The Ohrangers beat the bad guy, Johnny is alive, Goro says maybe he is a dog of the gods, and all I can say is, yeah. You weren't even here, dude, so just stop. The end. It's still better though. Let's score these. For story, it's obviously Ohranger. While a bit random at times, the concept of a mystical dog spirit is at least whimsical and mysterious enough to carry a half hour. For characters, I mean, both Puppers are good. Everyone else just kinda exists. Let's give it a tie. I can't believe it's taken me this long to assign one. But for action, it's back to being easy. Momo gets to do some pretty cool stuff in this episode that's cut from Power Rangers, from fighting with a pike to diving off a waterfall. All Kat does is limp around. Ohranger wins. That means that a dog of the gods must be superior to mere mortals. But they're both good boys. This premise immediately tickles me. Shohei enjoys eating at his favorite ramen shop only to find that his beloved lunch is being cooked by a robot assistant, Pinocchio. In fact, a company is making several lines of Pinocchio robots to cater to every human need. And even though Tokyo is currently facing regular attacks by a robotic regime, only the Ohrangers even suspect that maybe this is bad. Well, only 4 of the Ohrangers even suspect that maybe this is bad. But how sudden a technological leap is this? Oh, vaguely sentient robots are making your meals, no big deal! Sure, you can logic through this by remembering the setting being the not-too-distant future, but it doesn't even need that, not really. This is the kind of wacky conceit that could only happen in a show like this. Speaking of wacky conceits that could only happen in a show like this, Power Rangers Zeo! It adapts the Pinocchio character into Puppet Man, the robotic sidekick of children's entertainer Captain Pete. Captain Pete juggles while Puppet Man uses a Pee-wee's Playhouse-esque secret word to prank anybody who says Power Rangers.
Power Rangers?
Yes! I love that Power Rangers is the type of show that just does this. In defiance of all consistent theming, the vaguely nautical children's show host has a robot sidekick. Even though this is being presented in the narrative as a performance, the robot sidekick can't just be a guy in a robot suit. Puppet Man has to be presented as an honest-to-God, fully functional robot with a PlayStation controller on his torso, even though it's obvious he's made of foam rubber. That Puppet Man is a robot isn't even part of the act, or the result of Captain Pete's performer being an inventor or hobbyist in his spare time. Guy just has a robot, and it's never commented on. Like, in Ohranger, the conceit of the episode is that these robots are being manufactured for evil, and people can buy them as servants to improve their lives. It's ludicrous, but I get it. I buy it. Here, I'm supposed to believe that whatever production company creates this show decided that not only does the sea captain need a robot, they're going to shell out the astronomical sums for a real robot rather than put a broke theater student in a costume. There is not a single step in the decision-making process where this would ever be the logical outcome, and I kinda love that Power Rangers does not care one iota. The only reason that Puppet Man is a real live robot is so the Machine Empire can place a transmitter on its puppet pants, so that it, in turn, can make the children evil. Yeah, even if you accept the premise that the robot is here, this doesn't make any sense. Why does the Machine Empire need to outsource this? If they have the technology to make children evil, and they already have their own robots who are crashing the show anyway, why don't those robots make the children evil? This whole thing is so weird. I enjoy the idea that the Power Rangers are helpless in this situation as they can't attack the children. It's very Ohranger. In fact, we covered a Ohranger story where the child takes damage when the monster does. And I can't deny that these visuals are hilarious. Ultimately, King Mondo wants to broadcast the signal to brainwash all children. Baranoia have equally big plans with their Pinocchios, making them so trusted and essential to human life that they end up taking over, not by force, but by being elected to office. When they ingratiate themselves to humans through flattery and agreeing with everything they say, I find it eerily reminiscent of our current reality, where chatbots do pretty much the same thing. It's a little on the nose. On the nose. On the nose, because it's Pinocchio. Later on, Goro and Judy are attacked by a cloaked figure who is obviously a robot. Then when it gets away, they almost immediately see the ramen shop Pinocchio making deliveries and assume they're the same robot. And yeah, they are. We're genre savvy enough to know that. But this is all circumstantial, they're jumping to conclusions. Even worse, Gordo shoots a fleeing suspect in the back! Jeez, I thought you guys were UAOH, not US of A. One of the main conflicts is that Judy ends up getting a pet Pinocchio. They call them pets, but they really act more like babies. Whatever. Even though the team is rightly suspicious of these robots, Judy and Momo immediately swoon over the pet Pinocchios. I guess their maternal instincts are just too strong and women are too irrational. I can buy that the company insists she take one and that she's too polite to say no and that she ends up liking the stupid thing. That's fine. Heck, you'd think the Ohrangers would be happy for the chance to study it, not that they do. The others are smart to be suspicious, but at this point it's completely conjectural. Then Judy takes it to work with her. She takes it to work with her only because the thing begged her to take it to Ohranger headquarters. At no point does this raise any red flags for her. But then on the opposite extreme of credulity, all it takes is Gordo seeing that it is in her car for him to sprint down to the parking garage and toss the stupid thing off a bridge. He is right, there's a bomb in it. But given they'd continuously failed to catch the Pinocchios in any wrongdoing, it feels like he's right because he read the script. And I guess that's my biggest issue with the episode. It's set up as a mystery, or at least an open question, but there aren't really any twists, any false leads. The robot the heroes think is evil. They're just right. They're right the whole time. Profiling works. Those observations are all well and good, but I haven't given myself much opportunity to directly compare. Thank goodness for that silly wheel! Now, Ohranger introduced the giant roller in episode 10, our last video. But because Zio adapted a lot of these out of order, they've been having to come up with lots of excuses for the presence or absence of their defender wheel, depending on when the episode in question is placed. In Mean Screen, they adapted what was its Ohranger introduction to it just being the only weapon that wasn't infected by the virus. It shows up in the dog episode, but Zio cuts out that bit because it hadn't been introduced yet. And it just goes to show how pointless it is when you can cut it out so seamlessly, I don't even feel the need to mention it when I'm reviewing it. Here, in the Puppet Blaster, the Defender wheel is officially introduced. But it's being introduced in an episode that's adapting footage of an episode where its equivalent is already a thing. To make it at all special and particularly relevant, They claim it's something Billy just cooked up that spins at a frequency that will break the Puppet Blaster's broadcast transmission over the children. And that specific frequency is hitting it until it breaks. It's a pitifully transparent excuse to adapt this footage, but I still like it. I mentioned last time that Ohranger has this annoying tendency to tack its robot footage onto the ends of stories that are already done. That renders finishing moves like this totally pointless. So while the Defender Wheel's implementation is weak, at least it serves a purpose in Power Rangers. I can say the same for this moment too. Right before finishing off Pinocchio, the Ohrangers cut off his nose. There's no tactical reason for this, it's just thematically appropriate. Because it's Pinocchio. In Power Rangers, Billy advises them that the nose contains Mondo's satellite link and that destroying it will render Puppet Man powerless. So, hey, that's something. Then again, I think that cutting him in half will render Puppet Man equally powerless, which they do, so yeah. However, Puppet Man lives!
Well, it's a good thing Alpha had time to reassemble Puppet Man.
I assume that includes rebuilding his nose, too. Another convenient off-screen ending. We don't need any consequences. Hey, kids. Puppet Man is a person in a suit. So is Alpha. Please tell me you know this. Please tell me you know we're going to score these. For story, both play with their concepts. Power Rangers includes a montage of kids fighting each other. Ohranger features various applications of Pinocchio technology. The details in both show their cracks. We never find out what the deal is with the human scientist who made the Pinocchios. But they're both pretty good. I'll give it a tie. For characters, I want to bring up the one scene from Zeo that really stood out to me, even though it has nothing to do with the plot. We see Adam training Tanya in martial arts. Tanya is grateful, but feels guilty that he has to come down to her level. Adam counters that teaching helps refine his own skills. Without directly getting into it, it's probably the closest the show ever gets to acknowledging Tanya's weird, confusing backstory and working it into the show. And as someone who's always felt the replacement Rangers struggled to carve out identifiable character traits, I like this perspective on Adam. He's soft-spoken and not the most authoritative character. It would be the obvious choice to put, say, Tommy in this role because he's the leader. I like it showing that you don't need to be the authority to help someone. All you need is a generous and patient spirit. I remember Zeo often having Adam subtly mentor Tanya. It's an understated element I really appreciate. Judy has some focus in Ohranger, but she does little more than screw up and then sulk about it. I'm not sure what it's supposed to say about her, unless my cynical read about misplaced maternal instinct is correct. Yeah, I'm giving it to Power Rangers. And yeah, the secret word joke is over. Finally, for action, Power Rangers makes better use of the wheel. Ohranger makes slightly more thematic use of the nose. As much as I make fun of Gordo shooting a robot in the back, the train yard action sequence is pretty cool with lots of opportunities for ambush and cover, and it's something Power Rangers cuts out entirely. I'll give it to Ohranger, and that leaves us with a tie. They're both good episodes, but in very different ways. Well, it looks like Power Rangers Zeo's winning streak has finally been broken. I'm sure it'll get another chance. Despite me complaining about the villainous villains being villainous, just as the heroes thought, maybe it's because they were saving their morally ambiguous monster for next time. I'm glad to be back for another year of Zeo. I hope you're glad it's back too. Thanks for watching. Please support me on Patreon if you can. I will see you next time. Power Rangers.